listening to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Well, it's like when we audit the mod with Logic and give them the action items that they're going to use to lower their total cost of risk.
Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Technology is not an expense, it's an investment. Look at what Think HR has done for our clients and even our team. It's an amazing product, and I'm so thankful we have that.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Things are changing for us in 2021. Not all big business anymore. Now that we have CoverWallet on our team, it's amazing that we're going to be able to write small business profitably.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk. Production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What's up, everybody? It is Friday, which means it's time for Power Producer Shop Talk. Kyle is really wishing football season was already here.
Man, it's
repping
close,
the
dude.
Ohio State stuff.
I'm going to have my ass up in Columbus at the Shoe September 11th against Oregon. Going to be pretty excited about that with the Big Cat and my brothers. So
Big Cat.
We were in an Airbnb. We are ready to freaking go. It's going to be sick.
That's like the prequel to the Brent Houck Open, isn't it?
Pretty much. I mean so that's in November. That's November.
I understand. It'll take you 2
year.
months to recover from that weekend before the Brent Houck Open.
Pretty much, man.
Yeah.
Pretty
Sweet.
much.
So we wrapped up our deal with Gurley, with Josh Gurley, who is known to everybody on the podcast. So in the spirit of bringing on some people that I think are pretty successful producers, I asked Mr. Stephen Sedlak to join us. He's been on the regular Power Producers, but wanted to do a few shop talks with him about some of the things he's seeing, some of the things he's doing. But before we get into that, Steven's the prototype for me. Like, if I was going to bring somebody into my agency, this is the guy right here, 100%. Now, I wouldn't hire him or try to hire him from where he is now, aside from the fact that his family has ownership in the agency because he's already got experience, right? But, this is a guy that came from ADP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last time? I don't remember.
We did talk about it and how, with their training, how it transitions easily into getting somebody out knocking on doors and getting them not to be scared to get out from behind the desk, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, man. I mean, what's the deal? Like, how do you feel like you got prepared for what you do every day today? Because you're all over the place, man. I mean, this is a guy that is not afraid to cold call.
No. And that's what really taught me at that place did. I kind of a little quick background that I said before is that I had my own little business in college. I had too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. Went over to Enterprise with their training, which was good, but not what I was looking for. Wanted to get in the outside sales world, and ADP and Paychecks were two that I was interviewing with, and ended up going with ADP. A few people there, and they raved about it, just their training, and they do. That's what they push you to do. Call reluctancy happens no matter who you are, and you need an organization. You need somebody that's going to push you, and that's it. That's what you're doing. That is what your job entails of. If I was in my office and not turning in a deal, my manager would be like, well, "What the hell are you doing here? Get out on the street, knocking on doors." So their training, and I'll be completely honest, coming into our agency without that training, I don't know if I would have stuck around in this industry because I wanted to be on the commercial side. For me, it was where I wanted to be. Didn't want to be on the personal line side.
You probably would have stuck around. You'd have probably stuck around, but it wouldn't have been nearly as easy on you, and you wouldn't have been nearly as successful as quickly. Because look, man, when I first walked in to my first agency, I was made aware very quickly on my first day there was no training program. So, it's sink or swim. You get the opportunity because you've got the backbone, but there's really no sales training program for you here, son. So you're going to have to figure that out on your own. And
my office was in the basement. It was a makeshift office. It was a desk and a phone, and which was kind of good because that helped me say, hey, I don't want to be in this office anyway right now. I need to get out on the street and out in front of people. So that was a good aspect, in what happened. But overall, yeah, it wasn't. It was, this is how we've always done it, go out and hit the street. Without ADP, it would have fell flat on my face. Plus, I already had a book of business over at ADP of clientele that it was easy to open those doors up automatically.
Exactly.
Yeah, what do you think the most valuable thing is you got from that time with them? I mean, of the training, what do you think is the one thing that you still use today that you would not have gotten had you not been there?
Two things. One is that it's if you're asking somebody for help, right? If you're knocking on a door and it's a gatekeeper, or you're calling somebody and you're trying to get in touch with somebody you don't know who to touch base with, I always ask, hey, can you do me a favor? Can I ask you a favor? Yeah. People are willing to open up and help you, right? Now, they might not give you to the decision maker, but they're going to give you some information that you might not have otherwise, and it lets down their guard a little bit. The other that's always stuck with me, and it was probably my first couple of weeks job at ADP, is we were out cold calling. It was me and my boss, and we were coming up to a large, I think it was a large manufacturer at the time, and he said, it was something where I came along and I was kind of a little reluctant to go in and go knock on him. And he said to me, he goes, hey, if you ever get that, he goes, that call reluctance, just take a step back and ask yourself, should I do this? And the answer is always yes. And your fears will kind of
what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
It's okay to do it. Right. So there's still some of those, you can get a little shy, a little shotgun, I guess, when it comes to calling on people or walking into a business cold calling. But I still do that to this day. I just take a step back and say, should I do this? And I always answer yes, and ease myself, and you just walk in the door, and it's not.
They're going to tell you no, and then you could come back 6 months later. They're not going to remember who you are, most likely. I mean,
I would love it if you went out in the parking lot, shaved your beard, and then walked back in. And just literally just said, hey, out of curiosity, anybody see an extra chin laying around? Because mine's not here. I don't have a chin.
Well, also what's funny about that is it was our sales executive was in one week, and a friend of mine, he's still a good friend of mine, was working there too. And he was out cold calling with them, and they walked up to a door that had no soliciting sign on it, right? So he goes, forget it, let's walk in. So he walks in, and the lady, first time I ever heard anybody called out on this before, the lady goes, excuse me, I guess you didn't see the sign up front that said no soliciting. I kid you not. He comes back, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was French for come on in. Lit up the place. They started laughing. They ended up getting an appointment with it. So,
it's just about making people laugh, man. It's something you got to do. I like what you said about the, can you do me a favor thing? I used to walk in when I was doing the office supply stuff with Quill, and I would say something to the same effect, like, maybe you can help me out real quick. So I would kind of throw in a little bit of a sense of urgency, impulse factor there, that they knew that it wasn't going to take up too much of their time by saying real quick, and then a little bit of indifference, just by saying, maybe you can help me out. And it, like you said,
the problem is down here, you're sweating profusely when you walk into the front of somebody's business. So
is that the problem though? That's an easy icebreaker, right? You can walk in and just be like, you're already sweating balls, and just be like, man, it feels good in here. What do you got the AC turned down to, like 68? And they're gonna open up a little bit. Like, you don't have to be a full-on comedian. Like, you just need to kind of ice break a bit to get them to talk with you and relate with you as a person, not just somebody coming in there trying to sell them something.
Anytime, I prefer cold calling in person, door knocks, drops, if you will, as opposed to phone calls. I'll do both, but I can get people to open up a little bit more when I'm in front of them. I can get them to open up. It's harder for them to say no.
Exactly.
On a phone, it's easy just to say no and hang up, or not answer the damn phone. Whereas you walk in, it's a different ball game. You're in front of them, and
exactly.
I like to walk in
on
t-shirt.
Nonverbal cues and the body language and stuff that you're not gonna have on the phone. Like you said, they can just bang on you right there, and it's they're not gonna. Most people are not gonna do that in person because it would cause like physical harm, and that's frowned upon.
Yeah,
I like to walk in wearing a t-shirt with a picture of my wife and kids on the front of it, and then if they try and reject me, just point to that.
You wear T-shirts in businesses now? I thought it was always a no T-shirt move for you.
These people are counting on you to help me out. I can't take dinner to this family tonight unless you give me the information I need.
I knew people at ADP that would tell people that. In essence, they didn't last long. Don't get me wrong, but they would almost cry to them saying, "I'm not going to make my quota this month. I really need this deal."
That's like the guys that get an AOR and they go groveling back and tell them about like David's example of little Johnny. He's freshman in college this year and he's not going to be able to, whatever. It's lame.
By the way, that's straight out of the wedge. That's not David's. I can't take credit for that. Randy Schwantz talks about how the incumbent always pulls out the bottle of scotch and talks about little Johnny going to college next year and everything. But it's sad, man. That actually, like, it works to some degree, but it's kind of pathetic, right? I don't know of anybody that's going to be willing to make a buying decision to somebody who says, "Oh, I'm not going to make my quota," because you may not be there next week.
Yeah.
Why would I buy from you if you're not going to be around?
Yeah, that's not.
I don't want to be represented by the guy who might or might not make their weekly quota. Like,
right. Yeah.
Sounds like you're a real superstar there, friend.
Right.
So that's interesting. That they how long ago was that you were there?
10 years ago. I've been in the insurance world now at our agency for 10 years now.
Got it.
So I left there about 10 years ago.
Okay, cool.
So, I mean, obviously a lot of that stuff translates over. We've talked before. I don't remember. It's funny because Gurley actually sent us a message yesterday specifically about a payroll rep. But I mean, how much do you work with ADP and payroll reps now? I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts because we've had a lot of success in working with payroll companies for lead sources as long as it's the right deal, right relationship. I mean, obviously your nationals like ADP and Paychex have in-house agencies, and so that becomes a little bit of an issue. Never really had any issues with them though. If they refer an account in, and we're always of the mindset too, even when we get referred business from a payroll company, there are just times that it's not going to happen on the workers' comp side without them going into a PEO. And we'll tell the payroll rep that. And I think our reputation is actually pretty clean. It's pristine actually, with the payroll companies because we understand the relationship and the fact that they have referred that business in. Kyle just went through this with one of our accounts this year where payroll company referred it to us. We were not able to place the comp because of the class of business and the length of time in business. We had to go to a PEO to place it. We told them that was going to be the only option. They wanted what was best for the client, and we gave them our word that when the time was right and we could get comp placed, we would bring them back into the mix. Well, for 2 or 3 years, we've had this account with a PEO. They got enough history established, clean history, and this year we yanked it out of the PEO.
Yeah, I mean, we've had. I think what you said was it's got to be the right person. It's got to have the right person, the right mentality, and the right understanding of what the relationship is. When I left ADP, I had a lot of friends that still work there, so I had great relationships with them. And one of the guys we had for the next 2 years, we just crushed it, both of us. I mean, we were both referring business over left and right, and we knocked it apart. Now, the issue with some of these larger ones is, and not a lot of them, or not larger ones, but a lot of them, is that a lot of these guys, their goal isn't to stay in that position. Their goal is to move their way up. And so once they get out of that role that they were in, they're now in a different mindset and somebody else is in that territory. So then you have to reestablish that. And that's what happened with that relationship. He moved up and he's still at ADP and now he's in the training role in the national level. But the person that took his spot, I tried to make it work with her and it was a dump. So all she wanted was, me basically hand over an account to her and nothing in return. So I haven't really partnered with ADP since then. I found other partners. I worked with a guy over at Paylocity for a while. He moved on. Walked over with a guy at Paychex. So just got to find the right one. So now we're working a different angle with an accounting firm who does payroll as well. And they have a whole large book of business of payroll. So we're looking to them to start a partnership up in the same concept, because that's a long-term play that's going to be there, because nobody in that, they're not moving up. Nobody's going to move out of that role. So for us, we didn't have any issues when we worked with ADP, when I was working with those guys, moving stuff over, trying to take business. And we haven't, anything that I gave them otherwise now, they haven't tried to come back on to take any of the comp. So it's a very good avenue for people if they haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. But, I like it for two reasons. Number one, to recruit the people from the payroll companies to come work with us at Florida Risk as producers, because why would I try and compete with ADP's Fortune 500 quality training when I can just let somebody go get their rear end kicked on the streets trying to hawk payroll for a couple of years, go through ADP's training? That drastically reduces the learning curve for bringing people into the agency. And the habits are there, man. I mean, to me, it's all about the habits, period. I've been talking to the people inside Killing Commercial over the course of the last, couple of weeks have really started ramping up, or probably really the last couple of months, as things started to open up and go figure. Now they're starting to shut down again. But as they were getting out to do more marketing drop activity in person and all of that, they wanted to know kind of what's the magic number, what's the producer schedule that people follow, which I had done a blog post and posted about it. But right now, man, I honestly believe that the magic numbers, and people, I'm giving them to you right here. So at this point, you've got the activity and the amount of at-bats you need. It's up to you to actually execute and do it. But I think that they need to be shooting to make 100 calls on the phone every week. And I feel like they should be making at least 25 to 30 in-person drops. And if they can do that religiously, there's no way you're not going to – you could know nothing at all about insurance and just the sheer volume of going through that. Think about that. You've cold called on 120 businesses a month. You've phone called 400 businesses in a month. That's a total of 520 touches in 30 days. How many people are actually doing that? Probably not very many, but here's what I know. The ones who are writing business, you can know nothing about insurance. You can know nothing about, hey, Kyle, it says you need to refresh the page to continue recording because yours failed. Oh, he's gone again. All right. You could know nothing at all about it. Just the law of large numbers says that you will be in a position where you're going to write business, period.
Yeah, you will. I mean, it's activity, and we've had this conversation before, is the drivers of how I still get new business is cold calling. It's been 10 years I've been in the game, and cold calling or cold drops, however you want to look at it, is still a big part of how I do it. A lot of referrals. I still have clients that refer people. I have referral partners, but you can't guarantee those and wait for those, especially on the commercial side. You got to go out and make it your own. You can't sit back. If you're going to wait for everything to come to you, you'll go dead. You got to go out and find it and bring it in.
Here's one of my favorite parts of Shop Talk. It's where I do a random shout out to Christian Delosier for no reason whatsoever. I just want to see if he's listening.
He'll be listening. He will.
So Kyle, you got your stuff figured out? Nope. Nope. Wow, we don't really usually have technical issues, but we have technical issues today. It's all right. Me and Stephen can carry it. You're good.
Yeah, we'll be good.
So we do need to kind of wrap up, because I try and keep shop talks relatively short. Yep. You already gave like kind of a good tactic in terms of, can you help me out for a second? But when you're going in, what do you find to be your number one? Like for me, I cycle through different things. I never, like, I might be on a kick where I use the same thing over and over and over again, and then next month you find out I'm doing something completely different. What's your number one icebreaker?
Well, so I'm always leading in with the workers' comp. It's 100% of what I'm, I don't say 100%, but let's just say at least 80, 90% of the time of what I'm leading in with on it. And they're calculated drops. I have all the mod information of who I'm going after. So when it comes to my icebreaker, to be honest with you, there isn't really one. If I'm going to open up, it's just a play it as it goes of, reading the person when I come in the door. And if they're laughing loose, as it is, then we just try to make it funny. If they're uptight, then I just try to loosen them up a little bit. So there's no real one icebreaker that I go to with them. But the conversation is always, in regards to the insurance side, is always geared around workers' comp.
I did one time where I walked into a gatekeeper and I said, "Put your hands up so I can see them." Okay. And I said, "Just to let you know, I'm not here to rob you. I just want to make sure you still have both your hands, because your workers' comp performance as a company is horrible, and it's only a matter of time until you lose one of those puppies."
I will say this, and I haven't done it in a while, but there was a time period where, especially now, you can see everybody has now hiring signs in their front yard or whatever, in front of their business. There was a time where I would go into those businesses and tell them I was here to apply for a job as their risk manager. And they go, "Well, we're not hiring for that." I go, "Well, you got signs out front that say you're hiring, and I'm here to hire, get interviewed for it." So that would open up a door a little bit that way. Again, I haven't done that in a while, which is probably a good time to do that now, because every business you drive by right now has signs sitting out there saying that.
Yep, absolutely. We got nothing from the beard, just over there talking to himself. Good enough. It's probably good, because everybody's heard enough from him about how he goes in and breaks the ice anyhow. I mean, he was getting close to his word quota for this episode, before he cut out.
He got cut off.
Anyhow, we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to jump back on. We're going to do the next one. And the next one, I'm going to talk about something you didn't bring up here, but very intentionally do. And that is, I want to talk about how you use your book to leverage opportunities to get in front of people, because I think it's a very valuable way to do that. And also, let's just broaden it out and just say, how do you use content in general? Because I know you also just launched a new podcast, right? So I want to get that on the next one. So everybody, I appreciate you tuning in. This is number 1 of the Sedlak sessions. We're going to give you 4 to 6 of these, because this guy's got 4 to 6 worth to give you. So stay tuned. Next week, we're talking about how Stephen specifically uses his unique content to get in front of the right people. Have a great weekend. See ya.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com, or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.